It's not just strategy. An edge in day trading thrives or dies by the trader behind it. Welcome to Trading Ascension, where the information guides you along the personal and spiritual growth journey toward profitable day trading. I'm Jason E., and in each episode, you'll discover practical self-development tools and transformative mindset practices to break through emotional blocks, mental noise, and self-sabotaging habits, so your mindset can finally support your edge. This show is for growth-minded day traders who want result-focused trading psychology and personal growth tools to sharpen their edge and decrease their emotional swings. If that's you, keep listening because... In today's episode, I want to have a conversation that, if received by you, could deepen your understanding of your trading journey and aid in your improvement. My belief is that if I can help you attune to what you're looking for with, just explanation, specific language, then you'll have the awareness to see it. You'll benefit from it. Now, you ever play one of those games where you have to search for an image or search an image and you're looking for a specific item? And it will say, like, find the red lamp. And then suddenly your brain, it just hyper focuses on what shapes could resemble or hide a red lamp. This show will be your find the red lamp instructions for day trading. How to find the path of that aha moment in which you say, I get it. I know what trading is requiring for me. Now, that gives you an enhanced ability to play the game, right? Doesn't guarantee anything, but the input is going to have more quality, so we can expect more quality from the output of our trading actions. So today's information will detail exactly what you're looking for on that path. This show is for people who say to themselves, I must be missing something. What exactly am I looking for as far as a gauge on my improvement? How do I increase my results in day trading for the better? The reason I think this is a powerful message is because as day traders, at best, we hear people talk about like the big picture, the image, but we never are provided the details of finding that red lamp in the image. This means we have, or we may not have, clarity on what's causing the roller coaster we're on. Things are seemingly the same, right? And we're journaling to highlight what's happening, yet still we're blind to the catalyst of our trading fluctuations. So I'm going to walk you through an understanding that I've been granted from years of mindfully figuring out what it will take for me to achieve my personal goals as a day trader. This show reveals the hidden in plain sight path of day trading improvement. I started the year with the goal of 20 funded accounts, right? I reached that and things, they got bumpy up and down at times. And it was like a step forward, step back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And I feel amazing because in years prior, the steps back seemed to be larger than the steps forward, right? And then the time I stayed on one level seemed to last longer. So I just want to say, be encouraged, traders. Like, if you stay the course and lock in on your life's path, understanding that comparison is the thief of joy, you're going to get where you want to go. And so today you're in for a treat. This is a very specific message to any trader who might feel a little lost on the journey, maybe dejected, discouraged. You'll leave this show with the knowledge that can help you lock into your personal development path of least resistance as a day trader. This is the perspective shift for today's show. It's truth that if you are manually managing your trades, then you are the operator, right? And the operator is the edge of your trading. Now, you might have heard that and thought at first glance, wow, I am my edge, or, no big deal. And though you say like, yeah, I'm the operator, that makes sense. But there's a deeper level, and I want to introduce a new term. And I just made the term up, so don't get caught up on the label, right? It's, again, where the label's pointing. The term is Edge Personality, EP. Let me say this, and then we'll dive deep in. Your best initial action in a vast majority of trading situations is to locate Engage the proximity to your edge personality. So why is this the best action to take? Well, that's a good question. Let's first define it. Your edge personality, your EP, is the state of being that gives you the best available opportunity to execute trading decisions that serve your best interest. Your edge personality is the state of being that gives you the best available opportunity to make decisions that serve your trading plan and your best interest. It's a filter that allows clarity in, allows discipline, and it kind of, blanks out or filters out, it's the best word, the noise, the fear, the impulsivity, and the emotional interference. So there are two parts to creating this. Creating your edge personality and then monitoring your relationship to it after it's created. So with your edge personality, you do some initial work to create it, and it will always be evolving, right? So you're going to be working on this increasingly working on it, but also the goal is to increase the daily hours that you operate from your edge personality, right? And these are times on and off the charts. So I said it was a filter, right? I said your edge personality is a filter. What does that mean? Let's talk about that. What makes this idea so powerful is that it's not just motivational language. It lines up with the well-studied psychological and cognitive neuroscience research, right? And I wish someone had told me this when I was in the fire on my journey. So this is just grabbing something here. This is a well-studied area. And I want to talk about the psychology and the cognitive neuroscience area of this. The main terms that support this idea are mood congruent memory, state dependent memory, emotional attention bias, and emotion cognition interactions. So let me break down each one just quickly because they all support today's show. So we have the mood congruent memory. This means people are more likely to recall thoughts, memories, or information that matches their current mood. For example, sad moods tend to preferentially activate sad or negative material, while positive mood shows bias retrieval towards positive material. So in these studies, material, right, is defined as, for example, words, images, stories, or experiences presented in those studies, right? So anything, right? Sad mood, sad things. Positive mood, positive things in your reality. And then next, there is the emotional attention bias. And the emotional attention bias means an emotional state changes what gets filtered in or out of our perception. Research shows emotional arousal, right, just heightened emotions, can sharpen processing of salient, or salient meaning information that jumps out or stands out, while reducing processing of competing, less salient information, right? So the things that pop out, the things that other people want to get our attention, sometimes can hijack our attention because of emotional attention biases. Then there's internal attention control. So research shows that emotional reactivity to negative self-referencing or referential thoughts can make it harder to disengage from those thoughts, increasing repetitive negative thinking. And then there's state-dependent memory, right? And this is related to a concept where recall is better when a person's internal state during retrieval matches the state during encoding, right? And encoding meaning when that memory was created within us, though it's a bit broader than, mood congruent memory. So Here are some simple directions on how our awareness can counteract each of these. Mood congruent memory. Well, we don't want to let bad moods choose what we remember, right? So there's some times where you just have to step away. A lot of times when it comes to entertaining negativity, or when it comes to not entertaining negativity, at sometimes we can forget that we can just not engage with things, right? So if you want to think about something positive, but you're in a bad mood, don't do it. Don't touch it with those dirty hands, right? Now there's emotional attention bias. Don't let what feels loud become what matters, right? Especially in life in general, there's a lot of things that are fighting for our attention, especially online, and things are getting louder and louder to stand out. So don't let what feels loud become what matters. What matters is what's in your plan and the things that you've set up before, from a sound mind. Internal attention control, right? That was the third one I mentioned. For this, don't engage every negative thought. Sometimes, just like clouds, you watch it pass. You don't give it any attention. You just say, oh, interesting, right? Or you don't even have to say that. Just let it go by. From a neutral perspective, just seeing it, oh, here's another thought. And this is one thing, let me sidestep just quickly here. You got to choose a path when it comes to thoughts. A lot of people try to split, and splitting and I'll explain what that means, is the path of pain. And splitting means that you want to believe everything that your mind says positive about you and about your trading, about your life. But then when it says something negative, you don't want to believe it. And it's the same source, it's the same thoughts. But for our ego, we're like, oh, I believe the good stuff. I am a champion. Oh, I don't want to believe it when it says I'm a loser, right? Or I can't trade, or I shouldn't trade. You have to choose a path. You got to believe everything your mind says or nothing your mind says. And by choosing one of those paths, the extremes, you start to disengage with your thoughts and realize that you aren't your thoughts, right? So you have more control over the issues and the things that we're talking about today. And then the last one I mentioned was the state-dependent memory. Recreate the state where you make your best decisions, right? And that's what we're talking about today, your emotional or your edge personality. So this is an equation, right? It might be the most important calculation that you do as a day trader. Emotional state plus stimulus salience plus attention control equals what enters awareness. Again, your emotional state plus your stimulus salience, right? What's jumping out in your environment plus attention control, it equals what enters awareness. So if we break this down simply, your emotional state equals your current mood or your current stress level. And then the stimulus salience is how much something stands out, right? So you add those two together, plus emotional control equals what enters your awareness. So your current mood or stress level plus how much something stands out or, gives you distaste is what you become aware of. And then attention control equals your ability to steer your focus on purpose. So what I'm saying is how you feel, how noticeable something is, and how much control you have over your focus together decide what you actually notice. And of course, downstream, this will control your actions. So what does this mean in real life? If you're anxious, you'll notice threat-related things more easily. If something is loud, bright, or emotionally charged, it stands out even more. If you have good focus control, you can ignore some of that and choose what to pay attention to. So here's a real-world example. Let me kind of paint this picture of how this impacts our human lives. Imagine you're in a crowded room, right? And as soon as I say that, I just think back to college, right? A crowded party or something. But in that room, if you're calm, you may notice only the conversation you're in. If you're stressed, you might suddenly pick up on angry tones or people looking at you from the other side of the room. If someone says your name, right? A salience, then it stands out immediately. You're like, oh, that's my name, right? Let me perk up and say, who called me, right? Maybe a friend's voice, And you're like, oh, I know that voice. If you're very focused, you may ignore that background noise even better. So the formula is basically saying what gets into your awareness is not just about the outside world, what's there and available to get your awareness. It also depends on your emotional state and how well you can control attention. So focus or regulation can override some emotional pull because deliberate control can reduce attention to emotionally charged distractions. So let me tie this into trading emotions and their impact. I've created this psychology chart, and I should put this on the website. I also should have printed this out. Let me look at this chart here. Give me 1 second here. So I'm just going to go through an emotional state, what's filtered in, what's filtered out, and what that common mistake leads to. And then I'm going to talk about the edge personality. So this is going to be amazing. And I actually am going to put this on the website. Maybe not by the time that the show is out, but you got to see this. This is powerful. I'm excited to share this with you. I feel great about the value this is adding to you. So the emotional state, and you'll see why as we talk about edge personality. So I've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas just to give you an idea of how this is working. Then we'll talk about some action steps. Action steps. All right. So the emotional state, let's say it's anxiety. What's filtered in? Threats, losses, volatility, anything that looks risky. This is what you're focused on under anxiety. So what's filtered out? Well, calm context, valid setups, patience, no access to those things. So these mistakes that are common from that is exiting too early, hesitating, over monitoring. But if you trade from that edge personality, you're going to slow down, maybe reduce size. You're going to stick to your rules. Let's talk about fear. What's filtered in? Well, possible loss, uncertainty, red candles, right? Stopping out, risk. Those things under fear become very, very triggering, right? And colors are triggering at all. That's a whole nother, show we could do about just colors in general. But what's filtered out is opportunity, structure, edge. And then the common mistakes from that is avoiding good trades, moving stop losses, taking teeny profits. But if you trade from that edge personality, your EP, you're going to follow the plan. You're going to accept that normal uncertainty. And what about anger? Well, anger filters in conflict, frustration. The market is against me thoughts. And what's filtered out, right? Well, you'll have no access to under the energy of anger, the emotion or the state of anger, is a broader context, a bigger picture, flexibility, neutral information. And the common mistakes we make in this state is revenge trading, forcing entries, tunnel vision. But with our edge personality engaged, we're going to pause. We're going to reset. We're going to stop trading if needed. And then there's greed. Well, with greed, it's going to filter in potential profit. Oh, thoughts like it could go much further. And what's filtered out is risk management, targets, exit discipline. And the common mistakes we make is holding trades too long, over trading, ignoring our targets. Have you ever gotten a trade and then target one's there and it's getting close? You're like, I'm just going to move target one a little bit. And then all of a sudden, you don't get that profit. It goes down. You get a lot less than you were supposed to. Maybe you break even. Some of the things that happen under greed. And then, but with your edge personality, you're going to take profits according to your plan. Couple more here, few more here. Overconfidence. What's filtered in? Well, evidence that supports the trade, recent wins, ease. What's filtered out is warning signs, risk, alternative views, alternative perspectives. And this is going to lead to the common mistakes of oversizing, skipping analysis, rule breaking. But with that edge personality engaged, you're going to recheck setups. You're going to look for quality. You're going to have in mind your risk management at the time of the trade. And then frustration as a emotion is going to filter out what is not working, delays, what's missed, right? Or missed entries. But it's filtering in, or it's filtering, that's what it's filtering in. It's filtering out patience, process, long-term edge. And this is causing problems like chasing trades, forcing trades, abandoning your plan altogether. And so with your edge personality, that frustration turns into just stepping back, waiting for the next clean setup. And then euphoria. This is the last one here on this chart. Euphoria is going to filter in winning, ease, momentum. I've got this. Kind of similar to overconfidence. And it's going to filter out risk, limits, the possibility of reversal. You're blind to all of that under this emotion. And the mistakes you make are getting sloppy, increasing size too fast. But with your edge personality, you're going to lock into a process. So at this point, and risk controls, I guess, kind of thinking about that for euphoria. So at this point, we should all understand that the wrong filter is dangerous to our trading goals. If we want success, we need a clean state of being, a filter that supports our success. And we're calling that filter our edge personality. Now let's dive into how to build it, how to keep it close when trading as well, and how to recall it when you stray from it. Because once your trading plan is solid and your filter is clean, a higher order of insight becomes available to you. It's kind of a gnosis, right? That only shows up when you're operating from alignment instead of noise. Now, gnosis is an inner knowing. I don't know if it was Plato or anything, but it was talked about a lot in the ancients. And it's a kind of a direct, lived under experience that gives wisdom that comes to clear away the noise. It aligns you with truth and helps you begin to see what to do without forcing it. Okay, so let's talk about achieving our own emotional or our own edge personality, EP. So we trade with an edge and reach our personal goals. Step one is the foundation. Now, since these states flow and mood changes, we must ground our trading in a solid plan in this third dimension, right? And this is why this matters so much. Everything else is unstable in comparison. So that plan that we talked about at the start of the season when we broke down the success generator system, that written plan for what factors must be present for us to enter a trade once in the market. It's also the written plan for how to respond to price action, things like taking partial profits or trailing price action, or recognizing the lack of follow through, and not just moving your stop loss, I guess is a better way to say that. And of course, knowing what factors into trade, right? So those three parts: entering, exiting, and trade management. That's the foundation, right? It has to be written so it's tangible in this realm. So it's something that we can hold on to as everything else is fluctuating in our experience. And this seems to be where people get caught up, right? Mark Douglas, he warned us, right? I've had Paula Webb on the show, phenomenal. And she talks about strategy jumping as one of the worst career mistakes we can make. Yet for some reason, we still try to find a better way to trade while totally ignoring our EP. It takes time to develop your edge personality. And we start over every time we try to fix the problem with new external processes instead of changing internal mechanisms. Now, of course, if we have data and we see that our strategy over hundreds or thousands of times, the edge isn't showing, then we know it doesn't have the potential to build an edge personality on top of it. If that's the case, then yes, we have to change. But I'm willing to bet that most traders changed their strategy because their filter changed, not because the system truly failed. So they fluctuated on these emotional paths that we've been talking about, and it made them change something in their trading, but it was all on fluff. And that's dangerous, right? It's like making life decisions based on the clouds passing over your house, right? It's not grounded in anything real. So we have to ground our actions in reality as we gauge what to do next, or we'll get swept away by the next filter and end up living in a world of fluff. And honestly, the world wants us to lose our connection to reality. I've heard people talk about the battle of facts over feelings, right? Like, hey, these are facts. How you feel, your filter doesn't affect that. And then others want ever-changing, filters to dictate our actions as a society. And this is a whole nother, topic. But as a day trader, we cannot allow our filters to run rampant and trade based off of them. Hopefully, the chart of what gets filtered in and out earlier just made this clear. So before anything else, we need a trading foundation, right? And then we can build the trading edge personality on top of that, right? There's no building intuitive trading or hunches or any of that other stuff on top of a plan that's not solid, right? You're getting tricked into going with the waves, and you can't reach your trading goals going with the waves. It's not the path. Our edge personality positions us best to execute our plan while filtering out emotional actions and mental upheaval. So let's talk about building our edge personality. Our edge personality positions us best to execute our plan, again, while filtering out action or emotional action and mental upheaval. And there are many ways to build this. But research and trading psychology point to one truth. The most optimal filter isn't a single emotion. It's a trained, neutral, process-oriented state supported by routines and self-awareness. You find it before trading through this pre-market calibration you have to do. And then after mistakes, you reach for it through structured resets. So here's a practical path. You're going to start with I am statements for clarity. And you're going to write these down, starting with obvious qualities that you know you would have as the successful version of yourself day trading. And then you're going to use contrast from your data to create more. So the obvious things, right? And these are, what's obvious to you may not be obvious to someone else. So just write down from your perspective. These are just some ideas. First thing you may want to put on this paper, right, as you're writing this down is I am patient. It's a good quality to have. Maybe your best trading version of you, your edge personality has patience. I am calm. I am clear-minded. I trust my risk management, right? Maybe this is one, and this is one that would work if you are using contrast. So the other ones are obvious, right? Patient, clear-minded. And let's say you move your stop loss, right? And you see that in your data. Well, now you might want to have something like I trust my risk management plan. If you revenge trade, maybe you want to have something written down like I only take action when my setup is A+, right? So you're getting this clarity on your edge personality. And then once you have this clarity, right, the obvious list and then the contrast list of what's really happening in your trading personally, you want to meditate on the feeling, not the thought, the feeling. So you're going to ask yourself, what does it feel like to possess these qualities, right? What does it feel like to be patient? What does it feel like to be calm? And you're going to do these one at a time, but I'm just inserting these so you know what questions I'm asking here. What does it feel like to be clear-minded? Now, don't fall into the mental hole of trying to think about a feeling. I want to be clear here. We are looking for a sensation in our body. We're looking for how our avatar reacts to these messages, right? So when it comes to the items related to spirit, it's different levels, right? But we can get on the trail in the physical level, right? So by looking at how our body feels, we can find our way into these emotional and these mental paths where we can make changes, right? So you're scanning your body top to bottom. How does it feel to be patient? What does patience feel like, right? I'm clear-minded. What does that feel like? And you're just scanning your body for these feelings, right? And again, the act of doing this is the investment, right? We're not looking for any specific outcome. We're practicing locating these states of being, our edge personality as we create it. So when you execute perfectly, this is the third way. So we're writing down, let me take a step back here. We're writing down obvious things. We're using contrast from the charts to write down more aspects or characteristics of our edge personality. And then lastly, we're anchoring it when it actually happens. This is celebrating the wins part, right? And celebrating the wins is stacking this energy on top of itself so it grows and we have a better relationship with it. So when you execute perfectly, pause and anchor that feeling. Oh, this feels great. I just took that, perfect trade based on my plan, right? And again, this is input, not output based. So I followed my plan for entry, in trade management, exit. Ooh, how do I feel right now? Deep breath, scanning my body. And you're locking in the vibration that creates a desired result, right? And this work will make you a master manifester in all areas of your life because there's certain beliefs, certain thoughts, certain actions that lead to certain outcomes on earth. And when you know what those things are, you can predict the outcomes and you can create these outcomes in your life. So you want to take this knowledge that you're getting, this self-knowledge on your edge personality, and you want to calibrate it before you're trading. And you can do that with things like pre-market routines, right? That routine gets your body in a mode like, okay, I know when we do this, what's going to happen, right? It's like warming up for a workout. Your body starts to like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know when we start doing this, what's happening today. Yeah, he's stretching, touching his toes. Oh, it's leg day. Let me get ready, right? So you're in the pre-market, you're reviewing your plan, you're setting your rules, you're breathing, you're visualizing, and this anchors you in the process. And then mindfulness is going to help you. Just 5 minutes of focused breathing is going to lower your stress reactivity. It's going to put you in a state that doesn't filter out what you need. And then you always have a checklist to rely on. I talk about this a lot. If I am emotional upheaval, but I feel like I'm still in a place to trade, but I don't want my filters to take me off of my game, I have a checklist, right? This is my edge. Where's my stop? Where's my target? And by having that checklist and okay, let me check this off before I enter, right? It overrides emotional pull. And then there's also emotional check-ins, right? Just how do I feel right now as I look for this trade? Am I anxious? Am I overconfident? Right? If it's a strong emotion, we might want to delay, right? We might want to reduce our risk, right? Or what quantities or contracts we're in the market in. And then there's post-mistake resets. Because things happen, especially as we're just starting to do this. But how do we get back to our edge personality fast? Well, we want to immediately reset. Step away. It's key. Change your posture. Breathe. Walk. And this is going to break the emotional lock. I think I said this last week, maybe the week before. The solution that your mind's telling you need is not on the charts. When you say, oh, I just want to win this next one, right? Like when revenge trade, or if I could just do this. When you're in that state of seeking something from the market to feel differently, you got to walk away. The market doesn't have it for you. You have to bring it to the market. Don't go to the market looking for things you should have brought to the market, right? So I just got a vision of like ancient Rome or something. And you show up to the city marketplace like they show in movies and stuff. Who knows if it was really like that? And you're like, hey, where are the eggs? And everyone's looking like you, like you're the egg salesperson, right? You got the chickens. What are you talking about? Right? That's how silly it is when we go to the stock market looking for the emotions to come out of it that we're not putting into it. Right? So where was I? Post mistakes and getting back locked in, breaks, walking, structured reflection is going to help us reset fast. Journal what you felt versus what the rule said versus what happened. That's kind of the equation that we're looking for in all journaling, right? How did I feel at that moment, right? What were the environment factors and things that led into how I feel? What did the rules say I should do? And then what actually happened? And then when you start to see how you feel and what you're capable of taking action on, and how you feel and what you're not capable of taking action on in a given moment, the self-clarity, man, is amazing. It's amazing. And only you can do this, right? This is that gnosis. This is something within you that you're unlocking. I can tell you about this, but no one can do this for you. No one can put the work in for you to reach your trading goals. But hopefully, Trading Ascension platform does the best job of pointing you in the right direction. Wish someone had pointed me in the right direction with this information. And there were tidbits here and there, but no one dives into it like I think we do in this community. So I hope this is resonating with you. You also want to return to your EP phases, re-anchor to your rules, right? Reread the plan. Look at the checklist that supports the ideal actions you should be taking, right? And try to shift back into that. And you want to move from, when you're doing this, from what I feel and acting on that to acting on what my system says. So there's a simple model: state to filter to action. So you want to identify the state, right? Are you anxious? Are you greedy? Are you overconfident? And then you have to recognize the filter. And you can only recognize this by mindfully watching yourself, right? If I feel this way, what kind of filter am I in? Does it create focus, danger, right? Does it create reward, focus, right? What am I looking for in this filter? And then you want to choose a corrective filter, because it's your choice. You control this. Initially, simple but not easy, but it's going to get easier when you play the game like this with yourself. So you're choosing that best filter. Okay, let me look at my rules. Let me look at my checklist. Let me check in with my emotions. Are they too strong? Maybe I shouldn't trade. And so you're recalibrating. And this is something that you have to train daily. And, 5 to 10 minutes of mindfulness, it's going to build your regulation muscles. I would suggest more, but just 5 to 10 minutes is going to do it. And then, again, as we're journaling, we want to journal emotional states plus rules followed plus outcomes. So that formula is going to give you the most self-information that can be useful in changing these states and making sure that your edge personality is something that you're growing and locking in. And then you have to lean on reality, right? Lean on what's written, your written entry, your written stop, your target rules. And when internal states start to wobble, you're going to use this information to ground you so you aren't swept away, right? It's like having a pier to hold on to in the ocean while these huge waves are crashing. And you're just locked onto this pier like, all right, I know I'm not going anywhere. But if not, God bless the trader without a plan. They're in the ocean, get slapped around the waves. And then after the fact, they're like, oh, yeah. Although the wave took them there, they justify it afterwards. Oh, yeah, I saw this, that, and the other. That's why I entered that trade. Nah, your emotions made that trade. You're justifying it on the back end. So your optimal emotional, I keep saying emotional, but edge personality, I guess it's similar, but I like that word, edge personality. The optimal one is calm, process oriented. It's a state guided by rules and mental models that you've trained within yourself. You've trained this behavior. This trading mind isn't by luck. You built this success. It was invested in. You found it before trading. You restored it after making mistakes through routine, mindfulness, and reflection. You worked on that relationship and feeling that way outside the charts so it could bleed into all aspects of your life. No one can take that away from you when you do that work. Your edge personality isn't magic. It's a trained filter. So you're writing your I am list. You're doing your pre-market calibration. You're resetting after mistakes. And over time, the extra noise starts to fade. You start to get better filters. And something that is even better emerges within you, this inner knowing, that gnosis, that tells you exactly when and how to act. Next trade that you take, I want you to pause and ask yourself, am I in my EP? If not, then that's your edge talking, right? It's telling you, no, I'm not there. I feel a certain way. If you listen to yourself, don't ignore it. Oh, I want to trade anyway. I'm tired. I had an argument or whatever it is, but you're just going to push through it. Don't do it. Come back when the filter is clean. And this is how you stop being a trader who just, happens to trade and become a trader who knows. And that knowing, I believe, is what we're all looking for. It's a certain knowing that, today I got a good chance of making good decisions versus the trader who I was for a long time to start my career. Like today, shit, the whole thing might burn down. Right? So it's a career, life shifting perspective. Work on your edge personality. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you listening this week. Have a great trading week, traders. And here's to being the hero of your story.